And welcome to this very special day. Well, happy Valentine's Day, and I hope your day is filled with joy and that special one in your life. I hope that you get your compliments and whatever way you celebrate. Of course, we all know about the legend of Valentine's Day. We have discussed that many times in the olden Roman days when the king was Celestus was looking at recruiting people for his army. So he found that married people were not as committed to the army. So what he did, he said no more weddings, no more marriages. So then Saint Valentine started holding marriage ceremonies in private, in secretly, and he was jailed. In the jail, the jailer's daughter used to bring as Saint Valentine flowers and things. On the day that he was taken to be executed, he left a love note to the jailer's daughter, and hence the Saint Valentine's Day in many different forms took shape. And today it's become a very commercial sort of event. But anyway, that's all we're going to talk about in Valentine's Day today. Let's get on with the news. Good news about the Albanese government to abolish the temporary visa protection and give permanent visas to many. Well, it is in a way good thing. So we have them here. They have skills. Why not use them?
Vashini Jayakumar has made a life in Australia after arriving by boat from Sri Lanka in November 2012.
It was a dangerous trip, but I would rather take this risk rather than living in a land where I don't feel safe.
But she's been in limbo since that time, first in detention and then on a temporary protection visa until now. The 29-year-old and her 3 young children, parents and siblings to be granted permanent visas.
We hoped for this day.
Along with 19,000 other people who've been on TPVs and safe haven visas for more than a decade. They'll now have access to social security payments, Medicare, the NDIS, family reunion and a pathway to citizenship. Not included are 12,000 people who've also been in Australia a long time and are typically on bridging visas, like Vashini Jayakumar's husband, Rizwan.
We are still concerned about that group, and we've been advocating for a pathway to permanency for all 31,000.
Has the government received any warnings from agencies, officials, experts or foreign governments that this decision could lead to an increase in people smuggling arrivals?
Well, this government will continue to be tough on borders without being weak on humanity.
Although a brief to the incoming Labor government from Home Affairs, released under Freedom of Information, includes heavy redactions pointing to potential sensitivities about Labor's election pledge to abolish TPVs. Which perhaps explains why the visa will remain on the statute book. Labor wants to remain faithful to its election promise, but doesn't want to signal a weakening of other elements of Operation Sovereign Borders. It has bitter memories of the last time it unravelled hardline border policy. 800 plus boats, 50,000 arrivals and more than 1,100 deaths at sea. Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
Well, we don't want that to be repeated again. So, looking at the number of deaths, so I think the control was pretty good. But of course, when we have people here on temporary visas only, I think the visa processing should not take that long. And of course, if they can get back into the workforce rather than being a drain on the system, if we can utilize their skills in the country and give them that pathway, why not? So, well, we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Well, right now, the next news is new regulations for health industry. Do you reckon that it is needed? Do you reckon our health practitioners are, doing all the right things, and should new regulations be implemented?
Tom Monagle has been waiting years for this day.
The acknowledgement that things haven't been working so far.
He's seen the worst of medical breaches of trust. Aged just 19, he was twice sexually assaulted by his neurologist. It later emerged the Victorian Medical Board had ordered the specialist attend education after a previous patient also complained of an inappropriate examination.
patients coming first has to be the approach of any regulatory body.
The national regulator, AHPRA, has today revealed a major overhaul to how it responds to sexual misconduct by health professionals.
There's no place for sex in the relationship between a doctor and a patient, or indeed between any health practitioner and a patient.
The proposed reforms include reducing the influence of health practitioners on powerful decision-making boards, greater transparency around who is allowed to return to practice, and a review into current allegations of sexual misconduct and practitioners with past proven complaints.
We received more than 900 notifications about boundary violations last year.
AHPRA can implement some of these changes itself, but others will require legislative amendment. Health ministers will meet later this month to discuss the reforms, likely to attract fierce debate by health practitioners and the patients who rely on their care. Emily Baker, ABC.
And of course, that trust and, the lack of that trust, and when people go to health practitioners, they open up, really open up. I reckon that, the stricter regulations is timely, and there is no place in our society today for that kind of behavior. Well, right now, RBA says that it had sent out distress calls to the government about the rising inflation. So did the government do something about it?
From the first day of office, we've had inflation in our sights. That's why our message, our plan is all about restraint in spending. It's about budget repair, and it's about ensuring that we can manage the economy in a way which puts downward pressure on interest rates and not make the governor's, the Reserve Bank's job even tougher, not making a bad situation even worse. We know that most of the inflationary pressures are being imported from overseas, but they're being impacted on households and businesses, which is why fiscal policy, monetary policy have got to work hand in hand. It's why this budget won't be a big spending budget. It won't be one around handouts. It'll be around a responsible, restrained budget, which is repairing supply chains, repairing the budget, and ensuring that we can see the economy through the very narrow path to recovery that we have set our strategy on.
We had KPMG on the program just a moment ago because they're suggesting this mortgage holders, the ones that have mortgages that are looking at this $16,500 cliff when they go off the fixed rates, and that there'll be an impact of $20 billion on household consumption, that there'll be a punch to the economy, and that the Reserve Bank is underestimating that. Are we talking about the right kind of figures here? Do you believe that there's going to be a $20 billion punch to the economy?
We know there's around 800,000 mortgage holders who haven't yet felt the full brunt of the interest rate increases that are already in the system. They don't start to cycle off until mid-year, which is why we think that there's already a fair bit of pressure in the system, and we're hoping that we don't see further interest rate increases, and we're from our part saying budget restraint will be delivered, budget repair will be delivered, and doing our bit to ensure that we can firm up those supply chains that are also adding inflationary pressures into the Australian economy. The Australian government will do its bit to ensure that we are bringing down the pressure on inflation, which is why we hope the Reserve Bank Board can see its way clear to ensuring that we aren't lifting interest rates any further than they absolutely need to be to tame the inflation dragon.
Do you think that Philip Lowe's doing a good job?
Look, Philip Lowe's got a very tough job.
Yes,
and
that's the line
no
we heard from the Treasurer on Sunday.
There's no end of Australians who've got an opinion on the job that he's doing.
Yes, but you're
the Assistant
Treasurer.
He's got a tough job, but so have Australians. So have the Australians who are trying to manage their cost of living and their budgets. I don't think it helps if the Treasurer, the Assistant Treasurer or any of the other senior ministers of government are taking pot shots at the Reserve Bank or providing assessments of their performance. There's a regular process for these things. Monetary policy has its role, the government has its role. We've got to have them working hand in hand and in cooperation.
OK, just finally, there's not a lot of love for some of your policies. The opposition this morning is set to announce it's opposing the $10 billion housing fund. The Greens have said they want to whole lot of different elements to it, more remote Aboriginal community housing. How much are you prepared to bend now to get your platform through?
Well, the opposition is basically defining itself as a party which is opposed to everything. You know, the National Reconstruction Fund, which is about kickstarting manufacturing in this country and having more things made in Australia, seems to me to be a no-brainer. Who could be against that? Peter Dutton. Our housing fund is about ensuring we build more houses in the middle of a housing crisis and provide more social and affordable housing for people struggling and for people who are homeless. It really beggars belief that any politician in the country, let alone a major political party, could be threatening to block a fund which will put more houses into the market, more roofs over the head of people doing it tough. It beggars belief, which is why we're calling on the opposition, the crossbench, the Green, and in fact all the members and supporters of those parties to send a message to them to say, don't block the housing fund, don't block the Rebuilding Australia Fund, made in Australia and more roofs over people's heads. Who could be against that? Look, we want Valentine's Day to be a day for romantics, not a payday for the scammers. So just a message to people out there, particularly if you're using dating apps or social media. This is a channel that scammers are using to gain confidence, to gain contacts and eventually gain access to people's bank accounts. So just a message to beware. 8% increase over the last 12 months. It's the second biggest category of scams after investment scams. Don't want to be the ones who are warning people on such a special day as Valentine's Day, but consumers, particularly people using online and dating apps, have to be aware that these criminals are out there and they're operating.
The criminals are there and operating. Well, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we do know about that. Well, right now we're moving on. The next news is about the invisible victims of homeless. And the new report has found that women over 50 are more vulnerable.
Take us through, if you can, the personal turmoil you went through 8 years ago that pretty much upended your life.
Oh, it was about 4 years ago, and I was living in Mascot in a 4-bedroom home, and the rent went up another $200, and I just couldn't afford that at all. And then I was looking at rentals, and just being single, I did have students to help me, Chinese students in to help me pay for the rent, but that all ceased, and I wasn't capable of finding anything in my budget for rental. So then I found myself homeless, and I was sleeping on friends' lounges. My son lived in Perth. He wanted me to go over there, but I knew I had to stay in Sydney to somehow gain access to accommodation. And I did go through Department of Housing, and that was so horrible. The treatment, you just felt worthless being there. And I just think the whole system needs to be upgraded, and
As you found, Kerry, there wasn't much of a safety net for you, right, when you had this accommodation crisis?
No, and I didn't know where to turn to. It was a new experience for me. You know, I had homes, but with bad investment decisions, and putting my 2 boys through school and university. You know, there was little money left, and when it came to me at the end with, you know, no superannuation, and the job that I did have with federal government at quarantine, I injured myself, so that just impacted my life so bad and sent me spiralling because I wasn't able to get a job. So all these factors come into account for being homeless, like rent increases, injuries, women with no super to fall back on. And I did notice for over 55s that there was just, no help for these women that have reared their children and been the safeguard for them. And then there was nothing for me, or nothing for women.
It is such
over 55s.
It is such a widespread issue, and women in that age bracket are, as you are displaying, pretty much the invisible victims of homelessness. Hey, Kerry, really appreciate you coming on and telling us your story this morning. Thank you, and all the best in the future.
Can I just say one more thing? Just about Anglicare, they're wonderful. Wesley Mission are wonderful. They just, they do help you, in any way they can. It's just a call out to those, charitable companies. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you very much for Wesley Mission and other charitable ones. There's Community Care, there's many others, all of them doing a wonderful work. And the problem is how do people reach out to them and go through and receive the assistance that is needed. So, you could feel the pain in that report. We could feel what she was trying to say. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our Daily India.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features, and more on India and the Indian diaspora. Showcasing India's indigenous manufacturing capability, Asia's largest aero show, Aero India 2023, was inaugurated by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Bengaluru on February 13th. The 14th edition of Asia's largest aero show, Aero India 2023, was inaugurated by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Bengaluru on February 13th. The 5-day aerospace exhibition at the Yelahanka Air Force Station complex on the outskirts of Bengaluru showcases the country as an emerging hub for manufacturing military aircraft, helicopters, equipment and new age avionics. The theme of Aero India 2023 is the runway to a billion opportunities. The focus of the exhibition this time is on putting on display indigenous equipment, technologies, and forging partnerships with foreign companies, in line with the Make in India, Make for the World vision. The biennial aerospace exhibition is likely to witness the participation of 98 countries, the defense ministers of 32 countries, air chiefs of 29 countries, and 73 chief executive officers of global and Indian origin equipment manufacturers. On February 13th, the CEO's roundtable under the chairmanship of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was held on the theme Sky is not the limit, opportunities beyond boundaries. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that Aero India will act as a catalyst for further growth of the aerospace sector in India and help realize the country's aim of becoming self-reliant in defence manufacturing. Aero India 2023 witnessed participation by as many as 809 defence companies, including medium, small and micro enterprises and startups that will showcase the advancement in niche technologies and growth in aerospace and defense sectors. The major exhibitors include Airbus, Boeing, Dassault Aviation, Lockheed Martin, Israel Aerospace Industry, BrahMos Aerospace, Army Aviation, HC Robotics, SAAB, Rolls-Royce, Larsen & Toubro, Bharat Forge Limited, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Bharat Electronics Limited, Bharat Dynamics Limited, and BEML Limited. The 246-kilometer first phase of India's longest expressway from Delhi to Mumbai was opened by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on February 12th. India has inaugurated the first stage of its longest expressway from Delhi to Mumbai, as it makes a strong push in infrastructure development to catch up with its geopolitical rival China. The $13 billion project will eventually cut the road travel time between the country's two biggest cities to 12 hours. India is the world's fastest growing major economy and will soon be recognized as its most populous country. But its infrastructure remains decades behind that of its northern neighbor. Prime Minister Narendra Modi opened the 246-kilometer first stage on February 12th, linking the capital with the tourist city of Jaipur in Rajasthan. He said it was a sign of developing India, adding that such investments in railways, highways, subway lines and airports are key to pushing the country's growth rate, attracting more investments and creating fresh jobs. India has expedited many key projects, and in its budget the Modi government announced an unprecedented 33% increase in infrastructure spending. Prime Minister Modi is expected to open at least a dozen major railways, highways, expressways and port projects in the next few months. India has removed mandatory pre-boarding RT-PCR tests for travellers from 6 countries, following a decline in COVID cases in these countries. Following a sharp decline in COVID-19 cases, India has removed the mandatory pre-boarding RT-PCR test for travellers from 6 countries: China, Singapore, Hong Kong, Korea, Thailand and Japan. As COVID-19 cases have been on a sharp decline worldwide, India has also removed the rule to upload the Air Suvidha form for passengers arriving through or via the 6 countries. In a letter to Civil Aviation Secretary Rajiv Bansal, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan wrote that the current mandate of pre-departure COVID-19 testing taken not more than 72 hours before the journey and self-health declaration on Air Suvidha for international arrivals from 6 countries was being changed following the downward spiral of COVID-19 cases. However, the Union Health Ministry will continue monitoring emerging variants and random testing for COVID-19 of 2% of all travellers arriving in India, irrespective of the source country, will remain. The random tests, halted in November, were restarted again on December 24, owing to the escalating COVID situation in China and neighbouring countries. India women's cricket team has beaten arch rivals Pakistan by 7 wickets in their T20 World Cup opener. All-rounder Jemimah Rodriguez, who was named the player of the match, and Richa Ghosh's unbroken 58-run stand guided India to a 7-wicket victory over Pakistan in the Group B match at the 2023 Women's T20 World Cup. Batting first, Bisma Maroof's unbeaten 68 and a blazing 43 not out from Aisha Naseem helped Pakistan post a challenging 149 for 4. Radha Yadav was the most successful India bowler, returning with figures of 2 for 21 in her 4 overs. Harmanpreet's team got off to a solid start in their chase as Yastika Bhatia, who was promoted in the absence of Smriti Mandhana, joined hands with Shefali Verma to score a 38-run stand before Bhatia was dismissed by Sadia Iqbal. Skipper Harmanpreet herself tried to steady the ship with Jemimah Rodriguez. Jemimah smashed a sublime 50 as she took the chase deep with the help of Richa Ghosh, who remained unbeaten on 31. The duo kept their calm even as the required run rate touched double figures and helped the team defeat their arch rivals by 7 wickets in a thrilling T20 World Cup clash at Newlands in Cape Town. India won the match with an over to spare as Jemimah scored a boundary to win the match for her side. Recently married Bollywood couple Siddharth Malhotra and Kiara Advani held a reception for their industry friends on February 12th in Mumbai. Bollywood personalities Ajay Devgan, Kajol, Alia Bhatt, Kareena Kapoor Khan, Karan Johar, Varun Dhawan and Ranveer Singh, among others, attended the reception of the newly-wed star couple Siddharth Malhotra and Kiara Advani on the night of February 12th. Siddharth and Kiara tied the knot in a private ceremony at the Suryagarh Palace in Jaisalmer, Rajasthan on February 7th. The couple hosted a reception for family and close friends on February 9th in New Delhi, Malhotra's hometown. Friends and industry colleagues including entrepreneur Akash Ambani and wife Shloka, producer interior designer Gauri Khan, actors Kriti Senan, Abhishek Bachchan, Neetu Kapoor, Vicky Kaushal, Shilpa Shetty, Bhumi Padnekar, Disha Patani, Aditya Roy Kapoor, Anupam Kher, Ishan Khattar and filmmaker Ayan Mukherjee turned up for the reception of the star couple held at St. Regis Hotel in South Mumbai. For the reception, Kiara Advani wore a black and white gown with a stellar emerald diamond layered necklace, while Malhotra opted for a black suit and a shimmery black jacket. Actress Vidya Balan and producer Siddharth Roy Kapoor, actor Vivek Oberoi with wife Priyanka, actor Shahid Kapoor's wife Meera Kapoor, actor Rakul Preet Singh with partner and producer Jackie Bhagnani, Dhawan along with his wife, entrepreneur Natasha Dalal were some of the star couples that also attended the function. Malhotra and Advani, who worked together for the first time on the acclaimed film Shershaah in 2021, had kept their relationship private. Bollywood superstar Akshay Kumar's upcoming family entertainer film Selfie has already raised the bar of excitement with the release of its first song. Now another song from the film Kudiye Ni Teri has been released. Film Selfie is one of the highly anticipated movies of 2023 and the makers have dropped one more song from the film. Fans are ecstatic to see their favorite Khiladi Kumar dancing alongside Brunal Thakur in the song Kudiye Ni Teri, is sung by the Prophet and Zahara S. Khan. Kudiye Ni Teri is a recreation of the cult Punjabi song Vibe, while the film Selfie itself is a remake of the Malayalam film Driving License. The mood set of the current song is extraordinary and Akshay Kumar is showing his abs flawlessly. Brunal Thakur appears in a sensational song for the first time with Akshay Kumar. The duo captivated the limelight with their dance moves and became a hit within hours of the song's release. Directed by Raj Mehta, the film stars Akshay Kumar, Imran Hashmi, Nusrat Bharucha and Diana Penty in pivotal roles. Selfie is produced by the late Aruna Bhatia, Hero Yash Johar, Supriya Menon, Karan Johar, Prithviraj Sukumaran, Apurva Mehta and Liston Stephen and will hit theatres on February 24th. That's all for this bulletin of the Daily India Report.
Thank you very much, Simran, for that report. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you tune into Australian Indian Radio throughout the day, all our presenters are having special shows on Valentine's Day. And tonight at 8 p.m. will be a special presentation by Kavita ji. And of course, at 6 p.m. We have Madhu Khanna with a very, very special program for today as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to say goodbye until tomorrow. And it's been wonderful having your company today on this Valentine's Day. Hope you have a wonderful one today. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us.